This is Robert at Merit Web, and this is the 8th educational video for a QuikTest certification. And in the QuikTest results, you should already be familiar with the fact that as you scroll down in this report, you have these arrows that lead to specific discussions about whatever that title is. And today we're going to look at depression, treatment protocols for depression. So we're going to click on that. And remember, it leaves your QuikTest results open so you can go back to them. And it opens the other option in a new window. So we're just going to look at depression real quick. Depression is something that many people with mental disorders other than depression suffer with. So, depression is probably one of the most common issues that you're going to run into. A person who doesn't run into depression, probably, I don't know what they're counseling. Certainly not every case will indicate depression, but the vast majority of the people that you see when they first come in your office will probably have some form of depression in some way. This is you can see from the size of the slide bar, this is a really big thing, so really big discussion. So we're going to skip through some of this. Then we're going to just look at the highlights, what you need to know. Number one, depression causes changes in a person's mood, like sadness or stuff like that, and their cognition. Can slow their concentration, make them not want to work, not do anything. Physical state, it can mess up the sleep. Eating disruptions, they eat all the time, don't eat at all. Binge eating, junk eating. For some reason, people want to eat fat, they want to eat sugar when they're depressed. Both of those things will cause depression to get worse in some cases. So what they're eating actually promotes the depression, keeps it going. And then changes in behaviors, self-respect, esteem, maybe the way they treat other people. Let's go down and look at the 15 signs of depression. These, of course, are the items that you will find within the context of the QuikTest test itself, the assessment. And I'm going to tell you that some of these are on the certification test. You should be, if you are dealing with people who are depressed, you should know the signs and symptoms of depression. They are slightly different than anxiety, and they do not overlap. So, feelings of failure, feelings that nobody loves them, lack of happiness. Okay, I am happy is the QuikTest assessment item, but obviously happiness would be diminished in case of depression. Can't think quickly, worn out, worry, low or blue, not satisfied, life is a burden, don't desire to talk, feel unable to cope, lack confidence in self, feel lonely, critical, don't feel like working, don't feel like doing anything, don't feel like moving. Very passive things is what a person will want to do in this case. Diagnostic criteria, DSM-4 is what this is structured around right now, and then we'll be changing that and adding to this actually shortly to include the DSM-5. I am studying my way through the DSM-5. And so let's look down here. Major depression obviously is still going to be the case. This is the ICD-9 number. ICD-10 will be used shortly. I'll put that in here. Dysthymia, they have changed the name of this. It still falls under depressive disorders. I like the new name in the DSM-5. It's persistent depressive disorder. That is exactly what dysthymia is. They have to have had depression that does not meet a major depressive episode for at least 2 years. It's a lesser form of depression, but it's longer term. Adjustment disorders, I believe, has been moved in DSM-5, but some adjustment disorders do result in depression. Not all adjustment disorders will result in depression. Bipolar, of course, depression is something that is key to the bipolar diagnosis. In the DSM-5, bipolar now has its own category. It always should have. It did not. It was always, for some reason, included under depression, probably because depression is a component of bipolar. But in the DSM-5 now, bipolar has its own category. That's the right way to do it. Clinical disorders often associated with depression. Let's look down here. It's not uncommon for a person to have generalized anxiety disorder, social phobia, panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, or different eating disorders, and body dysmorphic disorder, preoccupation with some deficit physically. I'm fat, my nose is too big, my eyes are too far apart. There's all kinds of things that a person will gravitate toward. These are just a few of the things that may exist with depression. Personality disorders, we didn't see this with anxiety, but we're seeing it here. The DSM says that borderline personality disorder and obsessive compulsive personality disorder exist to a higher degree with depression. I can understand that with both of these. So you want to watch out for that. Both directions. A person is borderline personality, you want to make sure that they're not depressed. If they're depressed, you want to do a PSA and look for their borderline and obsessive compulsive personality issues. There are some physical things often associated with depression, including stuff like hormonal issues, hormonal changes. Be very cognizant of a person's age. When they start reaching middle age, they come into your office, there may be something going on hormonally as their hormones are changing with time. Thyroid, adrenal issues, stress hormones, and sex hormones may also all trigger depression. That's why it is important when a person comes into your office and they're showing extreme signs of depression, get them to a medical doctor. There may be some stuff going on. They probably need a blood workup, especially if depression is not an on and off again thing throughout their whole life. Very good possibility that one of these other issues may have arisen. Secondary depression, comorbid depression, so many times there's a comorbid issue that comes up with depression, meaning that something else is also able to be diagnosed, like panic disorder or generalized anxiety disorder or whatever else you might see. Secondary depression usually means there's a medical condition that is causing depression or accenting the depression. Maybe not causing it, but aggravating it. Medications, of course, the number one medication that's going to be used for depression is an SSRI. You can look that up on your own and see how it works or how they say it works. There's no way to really measure serotonin levels, so this is all guesswork, and they will admit that it's guesswork. They don't know how long the brain will tolerate modifications in serotonin. And, well, go read this yourself. This is extremely important here. Some people will take the SSRI and then continue to look for other ways to reduce depression. Listen very carefully. There is an herbal compound called, or an herbal element called St. John's wort. And that's designed to make you relax and kind of smooth over depression. Some people swear by it. Problem is, you can have an extremely deadly reaction with St. John's wort combined with an SSRI. If you're one of those people that's into herbal remedies and you have a depressed person come in and you recommend this, make sure they're not on an SSRI. I wouldn't even recommend you recommend it, but if you do, make sure they're not on an SSRI. It could kill them. It may be fatal. Here's some other drug classifications. These are usually only given in a case where an SSRI causes some kind of allergic reaction. The person can't take it. So usually SSRIs are the route that doctors go. Let's talk very briefly about the whole drug issue again. If you did not prescribe a drug, you may not tell a person to stop it, to modify it. You may not in any way encourage them to go against what a medical doctor who has prescribed this drug would tell them. I have had people tell me that because of their religious beliefs, they will tell their clients to discontinue drugs. Well, when that client experiences a problem, that person may be in jail. They will definitely be sued, and they will lose. You are not a medical doctor, and if you practice medicine without a license, good possibility you're going to end up in prison. Don't do it. Refer the person to their doctor. See if you can get their permission to talk to their doctor. When you do so, discuss the issues with their doctor. If their doctor says they want the person to modify that script, send them to the doctor. You don't do anything with drugs to encourage or discourage what a medical scriber has scripted for the person. You're risking jail time. So just be careful. All right. Therapeutic process. It is really important with depression to educate the client. It's always important, if it's possible, to educate the client about their mental disorder. Same as their physical disorders. But with depression, they have to understand how it works. They have to understand that binge eating makes the depression worse. Laying around causes the depression to get worse. When they get out, they get exercise, it changes things. It changes their view. It changes hormones. It changes other blood chemicals, and that in and of itself can begin to heal the depression. As long as they stay stuck in an uneducated environment, it's going to be very hard to get them to move forward and to get over depression. Educate them about what's happening. Educate yourself. Depression triggers. Discuss this stuff with them. And this is stuff we've already discussed before with anxiety. These are automatic thoughts. Stinking thinking is what it is. Catastrophizing. The world is ending. Somebody's late. I'm sure they're dead. Overgeneralizing. Always, never. Personalizing. I'm sure they don't like me. All or nothing. Read through each of these. Each of these will continue to promote depression and keep them from healing. And read over this last section here. It's very key. What they must do to break this cycle. It can be broken, and they need to do everything possible to break it. And for now, that's it. We're going to stop here, and we'll be back later.